it goes down to around a third.
I wonder what effect COVID is having on these figures. It can't be making them any better.
Well, these figures were compiled from before COVID, and as we know, the situation for young people has been particularly hard. They've been working in sort of industries and in insecure labour markets that's been particularly harder hit. So, although we don't have figures, I think it's quite evident that early evidence is that more and more young people are having to move home.
And lower income families will be feeling the pinch.
I think that's one of the things that we're trying to raise awareness, because as you say, I mean, it's not necessarily problematic. People can support each other, be mutually supportive. Pooling resources can make sense. But for low-income families, they may not have the space for somebody to return. They may well themselves be affected by job loss. And also the other thing is when the difference in if people are on benefit income, the difference between the benefits that one would get from child tax credit and child benefit, for example, is quite different. That stops when the child leaves sort of education, so that parents can feel the effects there.
Well, I imagine it's the cost of housing that sends many young people back into the family home.
Well, the reasons behind that is a key issue, yes. The escalating housing costs, the availability and affordability of housing. So, for example, getting onto the property ladder is becoming more and more difficult. Even private renting, the costs are very high. And also, as I said, the precarious job market is something, and that's, I think one of the key issues is when there are sort of triggers that can act. So whether it's like somebody losing a job, to bring people back home, maybe a relationship breaking up, but also this has been happening for some time, so it's not got the stigma. It's becoming a social norm. So also with people maybe delaying relationships these days compared to a few decades ago or different generations.
Well, we're going to hear from our listeners. Thanks so much for starting the conversation for us. Catherine Hill, Senior Research Associate at the Centre for Research and Social Policy at Loughborough University. That word stigma is interesting. I wonder if you are back home with your folks and you're in your 20s or 30s. Do you get a sense of stigma? Is there a sense of failure around you? If there shouldn't be, but I wonder whether you feel that or perceive other people think that you maybe failed in some way if you're back home. Because as Catherine was suggesting, you're in a good company. This work suggests that if you look at single childless people aged 20 to 34, the majority, 6 out of 10, are living with their parents. So if there was stigma, I wonder if that's still there. What do you feel? 0345 6060 973. If you're in your 20s or 30s and still living with mum or dad or your guardians, give me a call. And parents, keen to hear from you too. I was boomeranged, says this listener, left at 19, back at 29 when I went through divorce for 5 years. Finally moved out again in 2016. Well, Catherine touched on relationships, and I wonder how difficult it is to form relationships, or whether it was the breakdown of a relationship that sent you back home in the first place. Lots to talk about. This is an increasing phenomenon, as Catherine's suggesting, and something more and more people are living with for longer and longer. Let's talk about it. 0345 6060 973. 6:16 now. Tim Humphrey has the LBC News.
Wales is going back into coronavirus lockdown for just over 2 weeks from Friday. A meeting on whether Greater Manchester should be put into the highest level of coronavirus restrictions has ended without an agreement. A Cabinet Office minister says further talks on a Brexit trade deal would be meaningless without a shift in the EU's approach. The weather: heavy rain in the north tonight, showers in the south during the early hours, and gales from the far west, a low of 7.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. It's very slow on the M2 eastbound because of recovery work after a lorry caught fire earlier on between junction 2 for Strood and junction 3 for Rochester, so one lane stays closed. On the M25 anti-clockwise, there's also a lane closed. That's because a car has broken down between junction 25 for Enfield and junction 24 for Potters Bar. They're accusing Holloway. The A1 Holloway Road is closed in both directions because of a serious serious accident between Windsor Road and Parkhurst Road. In North Finchley, there are queues on the High Road in both directions. That's because of some emergency repairs near Highwood Avenue. And on the trains, C2C services aren't moving between Basildon and Pitsea. That's because an object is caught up in the overhead wires.
This is LBC.
It's great to be out on the road again. Makes you appreciate life's little treats and just how easy it is to get them with BP Me Rewards. A new outfit from M&S, presents for the kids from Love to Shop. I can even spend my points on fuel or donate my rewards to good causes. Get the app or pick up a card at your BP checkout. Oh, which reminds me, my car needs petrol.
BP Me Rewards. Little rewards, more often. Download BP Me Rewards in the App Store to find out more. Visit bpmerewards.co.uk for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
Call Eddie Mayer 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Imagine for a moment, you wake up with your partner in a four-poster bed in a stately home. You open the curtains to rolling countryside. What to do today? Maybe a bracing walk, coming home tired, good tired, or try a hand at archery, or go to the gin tasting. Then have a leisurely dinner with time to chat and how do you remember why you got together in the first place? Now, stop imagining and go to warnerhotels.co.uk to book a few days away. Warner Leisure Hotels, the great getaway.
Calling all business owners. Need a website for your business? Then the only name you need to know is 123 Reg. With our new website builder starter tool, simply fill in a quick form and we'll create a site for you in less time than it takes to make a cup of tea. And it's just £1 a month. Terms and conditions apply. Register any domain like .co.uk for just 99p to get a one-page site online. Pricing excludes VAT at 20%. Times for making tea may vary, but you'll most likely have a brand new site before your kettle's boiled. 123 Reg is not responsible for how nice your cuppa is, although we will create a site for you in an instant. Visit 123-reg.co.uk for more information.
How does it feel when you stop smoking?
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
It feels good.
I was so proud of myself.
I can keep up with my kids now.
I feel a lot richer.
I just feel fitter and healthier.
I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of quit to block can help you quit for good. From our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities. Search Smoke Free because there's only one you. When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better.
But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy. Now search NHS choices.
At Ring, we reinvented the doorbell. And now we're changing the Ring. Full home protection with Ring security cameras.
Wait, Ring does cameras too?
That's right. And they're so versatile, you can put them inside or outside, wherever you need them most.
Handy.
Ring camera will see, hear and speak to anyone inside or outside your home. And you can control them all from the Ring app to keep you and your family connected and protected.
It's smart.
Ring.
And of course, all our coppers undergo many meticulous checks by BMW technicians and have a minimum 12-month unlimited mileage BMW warranty. From your screen to your street, your perfect BMW couldn't be closer. Search approved used BMW today.
Be there on LBC.
With Virtual Business, offer as much flexibility as you need for your business.
In their 20s and 30s and even older are still living at home with their parents or have gone back after a period of freedom. We've got this report from Loughborough University. We're just hearing from one of its authors. It seems that if you look at single, childless people aged 20 to 34, the majority, 6 out of 10, are living with their parents. If that's you, give me a call, 0345 6060 973. Just before the news, I was mentioning that word stigma, which Catherine raised, for a text from a man saying this girl who I was quite fond of and who was older than me was shocked that I lived with my parents. It's a real section of people who hate you if you live with your parents. Well, that's one listener's view. What about you? You can text 84850. Aaron is in Watford. Aaron, thanks for calling in. Tell me about your situation.
Yeah, so I'm 24, moved out for 3 years to university, and then came back, graduated last year, and moved back into a family home. And I would say, I reckon about 90% of kind of my friends and people I know my age and kind of demographic do the same. And as the research was saying earlier, kind of it is
And what was your plan? Was it your expectation that after university that would be it, you wouldn't be back home? Or was this always part of your thinking?
I think it was always the plan, I'd say for many of my friends as well, the plans for all my university going ones was to move back home temporarily and then start looking at moving out. Like, we're all in a similar situation where kind of we're working nearby where we're living. And yeah, only a few of my friends actually moved out to rent somewhere. But the plan was always to move back in temporarily whilst trying to save up for a house.
And what's it like being at home?
At first it was really difficult, kind of having 3 years of independence at uni, kind of being straight back into, it felt like I was 18 again, kind of having to ask permission for things and kind of keeping to family schedules. But as it's been a little bit longer, I had to learn to kind of adapt better. I think it kind of goes to my parents as well. They've had to realise that I'm not the same person I was when I left home originally.
What do they feel about your presence? And is there any pressure? I mean, I'm sure they're very understanding of your situation and they're happy to have you home in many ways, but are there ever hints about how long you're going to be there?
No, nothing of that at all. They're very, like my mum didn't move out till she was 30. My dad moved out straight away as soon as he could. So they both came from different situations in that sense. And I think obviously their main concern, was their children and obviously kind of safe and secure. So they'd rather me live at home for a little bit longer, for the better long term, rather than kind of wasting my money now renting.
And do you think your 30s, a bit like your mum, is going to be when this changes for you?
I hope not. The plan is, I'm looking at kind of a long-term career, kind of looking at going to teaching, kind of all of the, being able to save money whilst I'm living at home, kind of earning doing a proper job kind of full-time. So, the plan is to move out, hopefully before 26, 27, I'd say.
And what about stigma, Anna? Does anyone give you a hard time? Do you feel bad for living at home?
No, not really. Mainly just because all of my friends are in the same situation. I obviously live in and around London, and a lot of my friends group are living nearby. All of my friends for university from different parts of the country, especially up north. I've seen a lot of them moving out and buying their own places. I think it is. I was listening to that kind of 60% number that you're talking about. I wonder if it's a little bit lower in the regional areas and a lot higher than 60% in and around London.
That's interesting, Alan. Thank you. And in fact, John in Colchester says, I'd be interested to see the geographical split of those boomerangias. I imagine the majority will be based in London and the southeast due to the cost of housing. Here's Rachel in Hartford. How are you, Rachel?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. No, we just heard from Aaron, who went to uni and is now back home. Is that you too?
Similar story. So I went to university for 3 years to get my teaching degree. I then moved out of home, didn't want to go back. I loved my independence. So I lived out of home for 4 years, totally happy renting. Renting, which obviously isn't the easiest in this area. So I then unfortunately lost the ability to walk and talk overnight with illness. Took 3 years of recovery, in which time my savings plummeted. And very, very lucky that I had a pair of parents who would take me back home. Had it been a different situation, I could be in a very different place right now. But they really, really welcomed me back home, supported me to no end, and I cannot fault the love I was surrounded with. So I'm very, very lucky. And then I got back to work 3 years ago now. So I'm due to complete on my house on Wednesday with my partner.
Oh, wow.
But the only reason we can complete and have the house is because we've got each other. My sister, who's a trust to no end and is older than me and is desperate for a mortgage, can't afford my wife enough. It's a really hard situation because we're a very close family, but to get a mortgage you'd have to go a long way up north. So that's why Karen said that these two is very regional.
Rachel, good luck. I hope this week brings everything you want in terms of your house. Annamika is next. And now you are back living with your parents in London, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So, hi. Yeah, I moved out at the end of last year, which is probably the worst time possible
what's it like?
It's been an adjustment. So I'm the oldest of three, and my siblings have just moved back out to university. So it's just me and my parents, and it took a little while for us to find a rhythm. What with me having lived out at university, and then sort of coming home, and then moving back out again, and then coming back again. So I am really the ultimate boomerang.
Tell me about the adjustments, and have you been having open and honest conversations, or has it sometimes been a bit tricky?
I think we've managed to find a pretty good rhythm now. Initially, it was definitely difficult because I had, certain ways that I would want to do things, and my mum and dad look after the house in a slightly different way. And especially when you live in sort of shared rental accommodation, you get quite used to being your own person and doing things in your particular way. So coming home and having to adjust all of that was without a routine as well because of lockdown. It was definitely difficult.
How do you think they are with it?
They are. I think they're both happy to have me home in a sense, but my mum is, really supportive of me sort of finding a place when that's possible again. So
And when you say she's really supportive of you, is she putting down the local newspaper and circling ads? Asking, have you looked at this?
yeah, not quite. But we are. So my heritage is Indian, so it's very common in our culture that grown-up children just live at home for a long time, and not really until they're married do we move out. So my mum is quite supportive of the idea of me moving out and pursuing sort of the next chapter of my life before having to settle down and get married and all of that.
And the fact you boomeranged, you've experienced the freedom, and now you're back with a little less freedom, but obviously a little more financial freedom. Do you have a goal in mind for when you get out?
I think because the situation is so volatile at the moment, it's quite difficult to sort of plan anything for the future. I would like to, obviously, because it's in London, I'm quite fortunate that I can, commute to work when we're allowed to again, and things like that. But I think in terms of potentially purchasing a property, that's still quite a way off.
And what if I said to you, you would still be living at home when you were 30? How would that feel?
I would not be too pleased with that. I'd definitely like to move out in the next, hopefully before, this time next year. But I think it does depend a lot on the pandemic now as well.
And what about your peers? Are they in a similar situation to you?
I think, as the previous caller said, it's quite regional because a lot of the friends that I've got from university are either living in London, renting in London, or they're living at home outside of London. And similarly, my friends from secondary school, they all live pretty much at home because we're in and around London.